What is incorrectly perceived as a sign of intelligence? Being in charge. Always maintain a healthy skepticism for anyone claiming to be authority, at least till they prove themselves capable. If someone's in an authoritative position, it should be others that praise them and say how good they are, not themselves. Arrogance portrayed as confidence. A truly intelligent person knows that there's things they don't know, and keeps trying to learn. An idiot refuses to acknowledge that there's anything they don't know, and fears doing anything that might prove it. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I'll remember this when I lie alone in bed tonight. I'm living in China right now and everyone keeps calling me intelligent as I'm bald and left-handed. Apparently bald equals intelligent now. The heat that smart people's brains give off burns off the hair. Damn, no wonder I've got a full head of hair at 52. Cornering people in arguments with bullying tactics and acting like it means they won. The people that say, "Oh sweetie," in an argument. Or, "Do your research. I'm not going to spoon feed it to you." When someone makes a pretty spectacular claim, and you ask them to back it up with a source. Silence. I've been told so many times that I'm thoughtful and a deep thinker, but really I can't figure out what to say, lol. My girlfriend thinks my silence is me thinking hard or letting her sort her emotions out, but it's really me trying to think of anything to say, but I'm a dumbass. Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than say something and remove all doubt. Even better if they think you're smart, lol. Scoring an A when I was 14. Glasses. It's actually a sad story, but the Khmer Rouge murdered a number of people with glasses in Cambodia because they perceived them as intellectuals. And intellectual, under Pol Pot, meant being able to read, which, apparently, was a huge threat to his agrarian regime. Having money. I know someone who is fairly wealthy. He has worked with several billionaires and other wealthy people. He told me that luck is a much more important factor than people realize. Of course, some people work hard, but most are just exceptionally lucky. Also, 9 of 10 times they are a-holes. There's a lot of research that supports his claim. The actual trait that tracks with wealth the closest is charisma. Edit. To clarify how statistics work, being charismatic doesn't mean you will be wealthy. Being wealthy doesn't mean you are charismatic. But if you could pick one skill to increase your chance of being wealthy, studies indicate it's probably charisma. In my experience, the people who are actually rich pretty much keep it to themselves. It's the wannabe rich people who brag about having money. Solving a Rubik's Cube. True, I learned how to do it quite fast once I looked on Google. It's just consistent practice until you memorize it. My patience doesn't last long enough to read through the instructions. I did about 5 turns and gave up. Strong opinions, held with confidence. 80% of podcasts just screamed out in unison. Having an opinion on literally everything, especially having the need to share the opinions with everyone they encounter. One of my biggest pet peeves. And on the flip side, immediate respect goes out to anyone who is able to say they don't know enough about the topic to have a solid opinion. I once had a discussion approaching argument with a guy. It was leaning very much towards argument until I happened to mention that my lack of personal experience on the topic meant that I couldn't answer all of his questions fully. He was asking in sincerity. He immediately replied that my admission of ignorance made him respect my opinion more. That made me respect him more. It's that mutual respect that enables us to hear each other out when debating the many issues we tend to disagree on. And thank God, because he's smart as fuck and could probably destroy me if we threw civility out the window. A college degree. Yep, I have a degree and I'm fucking stupid as fuck. I have a master's and I'm the dumbest person. I have a Ph.D. and I once locked myself inside my car. Using big words or complicated language when trying to explain something or talking about a difficult subject. The smartest people can actually make it sound simple. I had a history and civ teacher have us teach a mock lesson as a final grade because, if you truly understand something, you can help someone else understand it. Real talk though, the absolute best way to learn a topic is to teach it to someone else. Talking fast even if you're saying the dumbest shit. The trick is to say enough dumb things that the person you're talking to gets confused as to where to even begin. As someone who's been in academia and the field of medicine research for many years, I promise you, despite what people who aren't really in these spaces might think, it isn't exactly crawling with geniuses. Now, there are a few gifted people to be sure, but 99% it's perfectly average people who just showed up and did the work. It's more commitment than intelligence. As long as you don't have an actual severe learning disability and have access to the correct resources, this is a big one, and put in the effort, you can do it too. Also, don't ever assume that just because someone is incredibly knowledgeable at one thing that it will carry over broadly to other things. Some of the most successful people have incredibly narrow, focused specialized knowledge. If an orthopedic surgeon tries to talk to you about infectious disease, take it with a grain of salt. If an astronaut tries to talk to you about the economy, take it with a grain of salt. Being able to memorize. Having a good memory is definitely helpful and often shows intelligence, but just being able to spout facts does not mean you understand them or can think about things critically. This is genuinely infuriating. I'm an engineer and have a lot of colleagues that can dance circles around me with formulas and definitions but can't design their way out of a cardboard box. I look like an idiot because I can never remember the correct terminology for things because it isn't used colloquially, and I have to Google conversions. It honestly takes both kinds, but the people who can shit random facts tend to be perceived as smarter, typically. Being emotionally stunted. High IQ does not equal low EQ. You can be a dick and stupid, and you can be smart and charismatic. It's not one or the other. I think a lot of people believe in the myth of natural justice karma. They think if someone is smart, they must be lacking in other areas, sort of like if everyone is a character with a fixed amount of base stats that can just be allocated differently from person to person. The reality is that smart people are also often very well spoken, confident, wealthy, and attractive. And dumb people don't get free points in these areas either. Age. Actually, every toddler I've ever met was a fucking moron. That's what they want you to think. Most people think someone intelligent is good at basically everything, when there's different types of intelligence. I suck at basically everything, now Neil. I have a PhD in computing science, and a particularly niche field of it. I kinda get people thinking I can fix their computer. I probably can't, but I really don't get it when I do something completely normal and human like get lost and need directions, or forget to do a task, or struggle to open a box or something, and people say, "Oh, I thought you had a PhD, ha ha ha." Like, man, I have proven to be kinda okay at one thing, and nothing else, leave me alone. Being labeled gifted at a young age. Teens having basic adult understanding become geniuses to their parents. Using a lot of unnecessarily long or big words to express yourself, especially when it comes to teaching someone or conveying your own ideas. Oftentimes the best written works are those that are concise and simple to understand, not ones that confuse the reader with how convoluted they are. This is a big issue in research articles and papers. In second-year university, we had an assignment to dissect and review a research article, and it was so difficult to read. I had to read each sentence over multiple times to get the gist of it because of how long the sentences were, and how many thesaurusized words there seemed to be. I thought that it must have been a gap in my understanding that made it so hard to read. Later in university I reread the article and realized that it was just poor writing. I was surprised when I learned that knowledge isn't necessarily correlated to intelligence. I met a lifelong academic who knew damn near everything about her topic, but just the facts. It's like she was a walking encyclopedia, could cough up any info about her field, but she couldn't really process it that well, or draw conclusions, or apply it to a different topic. It's hard to explain. She had a nice 2 terabytes SSD drive full of info in her head, but she had a substandard CPU. Since then I've met several people like that. All academics, but I'm not sure that has anything to do with it. Knowing lots of digits of pi. It just proved that you took the time to memorize something useless. No one will ever need to remember more than 3 or 4 digits. I feel attacked. Learned 50 digits years ago and they're still stuck there. I learned about 60 digits for a contest in middle school. Here I am 25 years later and 30 digits are ingrained in my brain. I won the contest though. Americans often attribute Brits who speak in English accents as smart, but minorities who speak in other accents, and speak multiple languages, as not as smart. Getting the COVID vaccine. What is incorrectly perceived as a sign of intelligence? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.